This is going to be a very raw and real episode of my experience in trimester 3 of pregnancy, teaching fitness classes, being a small business owner, and then also working part-time in the family business. And just life in general. So this will be a really interesting listen for, well, anyone who wants to know kind of how it all works, how I've juggled it, and also for anyone who is currently pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant. Hopefully this is going to be a really useful and interesting listen for you. So I'm going to split this up into little sections: the physical side, emotional, the medical side, and the prep and any kind of lessons learned and advice I might have after I've kind of gone through it myself. Although I would say that every journey is totally, totally unique. And that goes from person to person and baby to baby and pregnancy to pregnancy. So just because you're experiencing different things to me doesn't mean that it's not normal or not usual. Everyone is going to have a completely different experience. Anyway, this is ours. Week 28, you're officially in trimester number 3. And week 37 is considered full term in the UK. And week 40 is your due date. So anytime from week 37, the baby is full term. And this is where I started to feel the kicks a lot stronger. So I have an anterior placenta, meaning my placenta is at the front. So it kind of acts as a bit of a cushion between me and the baby. So I didn't feel the kicks until quite a bit later. Pretty sure it was around about week 23 or something like that. So I felt them quite late, but this is where I really started to feel them. And the most memorable time I felt them, there's probably 2 actually. The first one, I went to a spa with my sister. And you're quite restricted when you go to spa and what rooms you can go in, because obviously you can't go into the saunas or the steam rooms. But we went into the meditation room. I was lying down and you look at the ceiling. We're at Centre Parks, by the way. You look at the ceiling and they've got like trees, and then it goes from day to night. Anyway, my sister fell asleep. Everyone else in the room was asleep and I was wide awake because baby Belle was going mad. Absolutely bonkers. I've never felt anything like it. So I was just looking with my eyes wide open at my belly. It just felt like an out-of-body experience. There was an alien in there. And another time I wasn't very well. I had a cough, and it was a couple of weeks ago now. I had a bit of a coughing fit in the night, and then afterwards I must have shaken her a little bit. She was just going bonkers, and I was like, oh no, poor baby. But obviously there's not right what you can do, and she was fine. She was absolutely fine. So you do start to feel the kicks a little bit more. Of course, the belly is getting bigger and the baby might have a growth spurt during this time. And one thing, obviously your whole body kind of gets a little bit bigger and there tends to be a bit of swelling. I didn't realise how much swelling there was in my ankles. Now to look at them, you wouldn't be like, you've got really swollen ankles. It's not that kind of swelling. It's the fact that my socks leave a real big mark these days. And it just kind of shows how much water retention we're holding, but also a little bit of that is normal as well. It's not anything to be concerned about if you are experiencing that kind of thing, if you're pregnant right now. But if it's sudden onset, or if it's causing you any pain, or if it is a lot of swelling, then it is really important to highlight it. I mean, it's important to highlight it anyway. Anyway, this is fine. This is normal. But I did not realise that at all. And also, of course, your boobs actually get quite a bit bigger. I've never been gifted in that area in my life. And all of a sudden, I'm extremely gifted. So enjoying and embracing that. But I didn't appreciate how much the rib cage would expand. So in this trimester, I was a bridesmaid for the wonderful Kelly, who is my sister-in-law. And well, I mean, when I tried the dress on initially, I thought, okay, well, if we get one that we can hike up, just hike it right up towards the bra line, then it's just dangling material. That'll be fine. So it doesn't matter how big I get. Well, little did I know how big my back would get. It sounds so silly, but I previously was a 32 round that area, my bra area. Chest, was it called? Chest, yeah, chest. Anyway, now I bought a 36 and it's tight. So there you go. I've had at least 4 inches of expansion, but more. And I just didn't appreciate how much it would expand. But then when you think about it, that's where all your organs are going. So your rib cage expands, the hormone relaxin allows your joints to be kind of more flexible. They basically expand. So it allows for expansion because, of course, your whole body has to accommodate a baby. So it's not just your rib cage, it's not just your pelvis. Also, quite often people say that their feet get bigger because of the relaxin. Our joints are literally becoming, I don't know if flexible is the right word, but you get what I mean. Anyway, so all your organs have been kind of shoved up a little bit. And then one other thing with the physical side, it was around about a similar sort of time. So I think I was about week 32 when I was a bridesmaid, something like that. I think it was about week 32. Anyway, sort of mid trimester 3. And I really didn't think about how much it would affect me physically. So I've kept up with all my exercise, which I'll go into a moment and tell you kind of what my current training plan is. Kept all my exercise, kept really, really fit. And I'll be walking upstairs and be completely gassed, like totally out of breath and getting really annoyed at myself because I was so out of breath. But then when you think about it, your lungs are being squeezed. There's a little baby sat underneath them. So of course it's going to happen. So I had to learn to give myself a little bit more slack. And notice that that's kind of totally normal. But yeah, very interesting. And by the way, I got the dress adjusted and it was absolutely fun. Now, another thing that I felt, and I think for me, this was probably my worst symptom, and I've never experienced anything like it. It onset mid to end of the third trimester. So I'm week 38 right now. So the little girl is, well, she's due 2 weeks today, but kind of any time from now, I guess. But 2 weeks today. Normally on your first, you end up being a bit late. Anyway, there's something that is called lightning crotch, and it's horrendous. I mean, I don't want to put anyone off. It's not horrendous, but it kind of is. It just takes you, it comes from nowhere. It takes you by surprise. So it is like a lightning feeling, and it just shoots down your leg, like the inside of the leg. It's whoa, just takes you by surprise. And essentially, it's where the baby's head is starting to become engaged. And from my understanding anyway, they're just sort of leaning on a nerve, and then it sends that lovely message down your leg. And it's just, well, I'd be walking around Morrison's and then all of a sudden look like I'm going to collapse. Like mine were pretty strong. I've been talking to other mums who also got it, but it doesn't seem like theirs was as strong. But yeah, it was pretty mean. It just kind of feels like you got cramp, like a really bad cramp just onset from nowhere. That was probably my worst symptom. Anyway, that was one thing. And a couple of other things that I felt in this trimester was I felt quite hot all the time, and I do feel quite hot. So our bedroom last night was 15 degrees, and normally I'm a cold person. And Will is saying, "Are you trying to kill me? It's so cold in here." And I feel like a furnace. I've got this water bottle on the front of me all the time. It's fantastic. But you do get pretty hot. I do feel like I'm going through the menopause. So I'll have a coffee and then, woof, I'm getting a sweat on. And another thing, I've always struggled with sleep. So I don't know if you can relate, but I'm a bit of I guess, overthinker. And I tend to think a lot at night. And that's when my mind just comes out to play. And that is when I need to run over everything and anything. So I like to do almost like brain dumps and just write everything down on a piece of paper and get it out of my head. But it's typically always been a time where I've struggled to sleep. I just run through the day and it's not very useful. But since I've been pregnant, I'm out like a light, and I've actually started to fall asleep mid-sentence, and Will's been laughing at me. But then I'll wake myself up snoring, which is really bad because that's also something I never do. And drooling, like, what? Who am I? So I've turned into this total animal, and yeah, I just don't recognize myself anymore. You will find that you get more frequent trips to the toilet in the night. But I haven't been someone who struggled with my sleep during pregnancy, which I feel very blessed with because a lot of people really do, especially in this final trimester where things get a bit uncomfortable. But as I said, this is not like me, and I am just embracing it. I think it's fantastic. One thing that's helped me physically is I bought a pregnancy band. So I found that I was starting to get a little bit of a burning sensation sometimes if I'd been walking for, say, longer than half an hour, or if I'd been stood for a while. So getting a pregnancy band really helped me doing those things. And I haven't really worn it for workouts or teaching, but I have done a couple of times, but it's more that everything else that's just been really handy. It's just like someone holding their hands underneath your bump and just taking a bit of pressure off. So it's quite nice. So I would definitely recommend that 100%. And then one other thing for the physical side, and this is just my experience. So I was told that my bump was too small. So what they start to do is they start to measure the size of your bump, and they will plot it on a graph and tell you sort of where the norm is. And of course, they've got their range, the upper band, the lower band, and then right in the middle, bang on average. And I wasn't really even on the graph. So, and obviously for me, I feel like I've got a big bump, but apparently my bump was really quite small. And they did say something about it could be the fact that, you've got a strong core or a strong back, and it's basically pulling everything in, which makes sense and I'll take it. I'll take it. Anyway, they were concerned about the growth of the baby. My bump's small, but is baby small? So I have had to go for a lot of extra scans at each stage to check. So normally you'd have your 20-week scan and then that would be it until you meet your baby. But we've been lucky enough to have to go quite a few more times. So I think I've been 3 more times since my 20-week scan. Every time the baby's been smack bang in the middle average. So totally fine. And the only other time we've had to go in was reduced movement. So they say if there's anything out of the ordinary, so you've got to spot your patterns, your baby's patterns. When does your baby normally move? And for me, I'm very active in the morning and then I go to my office job in the afternoon. It's kind of almost where I put my feet up a little bit. And I sit down at a computer and then the rest of the day is much more sedentary, but I am very active in the morning. So teaching classes, doing my own workouts, walking the dog, might get a few more steps in as well. And then I go to the office. The baby doesn't move then. Baby's just been nicely rocked to sleep. Always in the afternoon and always as soon as my head touches the pillow, bang, she's awake. She's going absolutely bonkers. Anyway, there are a couple of nights where she didn't. So you're meant to ring them up and they tell you to come in. So we went in. Will was really busy at work. He had 2 different sets of visitors in. I drove to Kingsmill, which is about half an hour from my house. That's where we're having the baby. And we went in. They had me strapped up on a bed. I was given a little clicker. And every time you feel the baby's movement, you have to click the clicker and it makes a noise. Anyway, as soon as I was lying down on the bed, the clicker was beep, 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 beep. She was going mad. It was really embarrassing. And then all of a sudden, there wasn't really any movement and they were printing it off on a piece of paper at the same time, like tracking her movements. And the midwife came in and said, oh, she's gone to sleep. Bearing in mind, we'd already been there for an hour at this point. Oh, she's gone to sleep. Right, I need to see her move just one more time before I let you go today. She left the room and then me and Will were saying, wake up, we got so much to do. So like talking to the belly and I was trying to move and shuffle up and down like the bed. Anyway, she woke up and then we were allowed to leave. But they are very, very on it and they're absolutely brilliant. The thing is, you can't take any chances. You've just got to say everything and everything you're experiencing. And that includes the emotional side as well. And so just moving on to the emotional side now, it can be really, really tricky. And of course, you're so grateful, you're so excited that this baby's coming, but it's all the unknowns. And you're also probably feeling, well, I mean, I'm speaking for myself here anyway, really apprehensive about the whole entire thing. Everyone says, your life's going to completely change and you'll have loads of people saying, just you wait until. Yeah, just ignore those people. That's really not helpful. But your life is about to change and it can be quite a nerve-wracking time, really. And a lot of people talk about, mourning their previous life. And I just think you've just got to listen to the things that are going to be useful to you in this moment as well. But it is okay to find this time hard and it is okay to find this time tricky too. Like I was quite lucky. I feel like I've been okay. I've been fine. But that doesn't mean that I haven't had moments where I felt uneasy about things or apprehensive, because that would be a lie. And I really do feel like the majority of people will go through these times and for some people it'd be a lot harder than others. But I would say just talking to people and also explaining to the midwives. They'll ask you every time, how are you feeling? What's your mental well-being been like? Talk to me about that. And you can talk to them about everything and anything. As I said, like for me, I've been pretty much absolutely fine, mainly excited. But then you do have days where you wake up and you think, my gosh, I'm going to be a mum. Like, how do you mum? Like, what does that even look like? How's my life going to change? How am I going to fit everything in? But I'm just a big believer in that where there's a will, there's a way. But literally, we can do it. And if you just know that in your heart and you know that you'll make accommodations and you know that you'll make it work no matter what, how far wrong could it go? One of the things that I did was I did a photo shoot, a maternity photo shoot. And that's something that I would massively recommend. So obviously, for us, if you've listened to episode 1, you'll know that it was a bit of a journey for myself and Will to get to this point, to get pregnant, to be able to have a child. And I just wanted to almost mark this moment, like this really special time. And I'd seen other people do it. And I thought, do you know what? That's a really nice thing to do. And I feel like that's a really incredible thing to do for you emotionally as well. It's quite empowering. And thinking that this body has just made this tiny little baby, and almost like a way to connect with the bump, but also a way to celebrate you and your body and everything that you've been through. I think it's incredible. And just to mark this moment, pregnancy isn't forever. Pregnancy is very temporary. And it was really special, very special, and something that I wouldn't have normally ever done, really. But I have no regrets, and I would definitely recommend anyone to do that just to mark this moment. Now, with the exercise side of things, so I was running up until I think it was about week 21. I'd have to listen back to my own podcast on trimester 2. But I switched, so do more in higher intensity, if you like, cardio to spin. So I was just doing cycle on a stationary bike. I just adapted bit by bit. So obviously when you're pregnant, there's some certain things that you just can't do. You're not going to lie on your belly after trimester 2. You're not going to be doing crunches all the time. You need to be thinking about working your deep core. You need to be thinking about your pelvic floor. You shouldn't be doing things like combat because they're relaxing. The hormone relaxin makes your joints a bit more flexible and a bit more unstable. So you want to be avoiding things like that. So, okay, the obvious things, or maybe they're not obvious to you, but you know them now. And I don't really think I adapted much else until about week 35, maybe. I think it's about week 35. So I switched out using a bar for hand weights. So the type of strength training I do anyway, it's more endurance. So it's more like lower weight, higher repetition kind of stuff. But I obviously you've got belly in the way. I just found it was safer to use hand weights. So I switched for hand weights, and was it last week or the week before? I think it might be the week before, week 36. I just started to reduce the length of my sessions a little bit as well, and started to do a little bit less intense ones. So still getting the heart rate up, but you'll find that your heart rate gets up really quite high fast anyway. So just not pushing my body too much, but still, getting my heart rate up, getting a bit out of breath, getting sweaty, making sure that I had a really big focus on strength. I've done that throughout my pregnancy, and I honestly swear by it. I think it's so important. So for myself, I do minimum 2 strength sessions a week. I go on the bike at least once a week, and then I will do some form of cardio, maybe with some mixed strength in there a couple of times a week. So like 6 days a week, basically. And I always have one rest day, which will be, I'll just go on a dog walk or something. But I've reduced the length of those sessions. I just felt like I wanted to, and I felt like I needed to for energy purposes, even though I feel really energized. I just would tick past so I was doing 45 minutes. I'd tick past the sort of 30-minute, and I'd be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's not like me. And I thought, okay, right, I need to lean into that. That's a sign for me. For me, that's a sign. It's not that I'm not motivated. It's not that I'm not disciplined. That's quite unusual for me. Right, okay, let's listen to that. And I would say for anybody, just listen to your body. Like what I do won't be the same for anyone else. Everyone is so different. And the only piece of advice I would say is, during pregnancy, don't start anything brand new. So carry on doing what you've been doing and adapt along the way, as I have done, but just don't start anything brand new. I carried on teaching my classes, and I got Will in to do bits and bobs that I couldn't demonstrate anymore. So say like yoga poses, chaturanga, when we're coming down to the floor and then we're pushing up into a back extension. Obviously can't do that with a big bump on the front of me. So then I would be doing some alternatives. And I have now, probably since about week 34-ish, somewhere around there anyway, just taken the impact out. So stop the jumping side of things. As the bump starts to feel a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, just taking the jumping out. I might have stopped slightly before then, but anyway, it was roundabout there. But it's been quite nice to be able to give everyone in class 2 different options too, because obviously normally I'm demonstrating both, and then I might go to say more high impact eventually, but it's been nice for everyone to have 2 options to follow for the whole workout. And to my surprise, Will has stepped in, and he's doing his exercise to music, and he is taking the classes on. So we're both having a couple of weeks maternity paternity. Then I'll go back to the admin side and the coaching side, of course. And he is going to be doing the live classes until my body is feeling in a place to come back and teach the classes. So I'll be taking my recovery seriously because I don't want any complications. And then I will be back as soon as possible to teach classes because I'm going to miss it so much. But I have carried on with my teaching. I'm week 38 now. I taught 2 classes this morning with Will, and I am going to carry on until the bitter end, as long as my body says that I can and, feel fine. So I'm just going to carry on. And I haven't reduced that in any way. That's just carried on as normal. as normal with the sensible adaptations that I've got to do along the way, of course. Now, for the more practical side of things that you have during this time are RSV vaccination and whooping cough. So you've got to make sure you have both of those. Also, you'll have more like frequent midwife appointments. So your midwife ends up being every other week. And they sometimes weigh you, they check the size of your bump, they do your bloods. You'll have to make a birth plan. So in an ideal world, this is what I would want, X, Y, Z. And then you have a home visit as well from a healthcare worker who just comes in, and that was quite funny. That took me and Will by surprise because obviously just a stranger knocks on your door and then sits down and goes through this huge list of bullet point things that you need to do and you've got to be aware of, like safe sleeping, like how to heat the milk bottles, how to sterilize things, your mental health, your baby's health, what to clothe them in at night, the temperature of the bedroom, like literally this massive list, totally overwhelming. And then she got a knitted boob out and started showing us, demonstrating with this knitted boob. I know it's not funny. I know it's really serious. But me and Will weren't expecting it. And it was just me, Will, and her. And it just felt all a little bit surreal when she was like opening her mouth and demonstrating on this knitted boob. Anyway, we didn't laugh. We just held it in. But that was interesting. So you'll have one of those, maybe with or without a knitted boob. Anyway, also during this time, the prep, we made a nursery. So that's ready already. We had 2 baby showers. One was a gender reveal where we had family and friends there. So we actually already knew the gender of baby Belle, little girl, and we were revealing to everybody else, which is quite unusual doing it that way, but it was really nice. And we had a baby shower at the same time. It was all encompassed into one, and it was fabulous. We had the confetti. So we just got ours from Sainsbury's, but you can buy them online as well. You pull it and it shoots out. It was amazing. And then we had a squad baby shower as well, which was lovely. I said no gifts, and then everyone showered us with gifts. But it was such a great opportunity just to chat to everybody. And it was a lovely, lovely morning at the Cozy Club in Nottingham. Yeah, it was wonderful. And I would say doing something like that, it's food for thought because it's just a real special moment, again, to mark this really special time. We've got the car seat in the car. We've packed the hospital bags, which you have to do. I got an itinerary. I actually asked ChatGPT to write the itinerary for me, like of what I need for a newborn. And it was so good. And then I just put it in notes in my phone and ticked it off as I went along and literally feel fully prepared. Like we have got everything. The only thing that isn't prepared is Will's hospital bag, which is so typically Will. All he has to do is put a top, pair of pants in and a toothbrush and maybe some snacks as well. Well, yes, no, definitely snacks. Will says if it's not the due date, it's not the due date. So I'll leave that with him. And one other thing to consider would be doing an NCT course. So you get like a free session, antenatal session with the NHS. The NCT course is a bit more in depth and they're really good. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do is because we wanted to meet other new parents in the area. And I think it's so important to have that network of other people who are going through the same thing as you and who get it, who are on the same journey. And actually today I've just come back from meeting the mums at the garden centre for a decaf coffee. And it was fabulous. It was really, really nice. So I'd highly recommend doing one of those as well. And then you've also got maternity leave to consider and making sure that you get your maternity pay sorted out, etc. But I'd say for me, in this trimester, I think the main piece of maybe advice or learning would be for me anyway, I don't know how useful this is, but just keep going. Just keep cracking on with normal life the best you can and adjust it along the way. Because I think as soon as you start to stop and think, then that's when things do become a little bit harder. I just think keep on going, like keep on cracking with everything. And that has been like my theory throughout anyway. Let's carry on as if I'm not pregnant, obviously being sensible about it at the same time. And I would also say, just take other people's opinions and advice. You get a lot of unsolicited advice. Is that the right way to say it? Anyway, with a pinch of salt. Some people will give you some really handy, really useful, fantastic advice. But everyone is going to feel a little bit different. Everyone's going to have a different baby. Everyone's going to have a different experience. And I think it's just go into it being open-minded, curious, a little bit excited, but also don't give yourself a hard time if you do have a bad day or a bad patch or finding things hard, because it is hard. Like it's really freaking hard, but also at the same time, absolutely incredible and phenomenal and mind-blowing what the body is doing. So it's such a journey. So embrace the moment. It's only temporary. And that's exactly what I've tried to do. Embrace every moment and make the absolute most of it. Every single Thursday, I've taken little pictures of my bump, like this week with the size of a pumpkin. And I think that's the best thing that you can do. And just get excited for the life that's ahead. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you are pregnant or you think about becoming pregnant, I hope it does provide some realistic, but also reassuring advice that this is a fantastic time, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a massive struggle, and whatever you're feeling, it's normal. It's okay. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I suppose the next time you hear from me, there might be another one. Anyway, take care everyone, and thank you so much for spending the last few minutes with me.